The stars stretched endlessly across the dark void of space, and among them floated the Zephyrian science vessel Scholarly Pursuit. Its sleek white hull reflected the distant light of nearby stars as it moved through the empty region known as the neutral zone. Inside the ship, Dr. Kethvar stood before a large viewing screen, his forearms crossed behind his back as he studied the data, scrolling past his large, dark eyes. Dr. Kethvar was tall and thin like most of his people, with blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer under the ship's lights. His head was larger than a human's, housing a brain that had made him one of the most respected scientists in the galaxy. For over 200 years he had studied alien cultures and their technologies, but there was one species that had always puzzled him: humans. "Doctor," called out his assistant, a young Zephyrian named Veltar. "We are receiving a signal." Kethvar turned his attention to the communication station. On the screen appeared a series of numbers and symbols that he recognized as a distress beacon. But this was not just any distress beacon. The pattern and frequency matched human technology. "A human ship?" Kethvar asked, his voice filled with interest. "Yes, Doctor. The signal is coming from approximately 3 light hours away. Our sensors show a large vessel, but it appears to be drifting without power." Kethvar felt a surge of excitement run through his body. For years, the Zephyrian Science Consortium had tried to study human military technology. Humans had appeared in galactic politics only 200 years ago, yet they had quickly become one of the most feared military powers in known space. Their ships were different from everyone else's. Their weapons were different. Even their tactics were different. But humans were also very protective of their secrets. They rarely allowed other species aboard their military vessels, and they never shared their weapon designs. Every attempt to study their technology had been politely but firmly refused. Now, floating in the darkness of space, was what appeared to be an abandoned human warship. It was a gift from the universe itself. "Set course for the signal," Kethvar ordered, "and send word to the consortium. Tell them we may have found something very interesting." The Scholarly Pursuit changed direction and began moving toward the source of the distress signal. As they got closer, their sensors began to pick up more details about the mysterious ship. "Doctor," Veltar said, his voice filled with amazement, "the ship is huge. It's nearly twice the size of our vessel." Kethvar studied the readings on his screen. The human ship was indeed massive, much larger than most vessels in the galaxy. Its design was strange too. Where other ships were built with smooth curves and artistic details, this human vessel looked like it was built purely for function. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, with sharp angles and heavy armor plating. "What is its classification?" Kethvar asked. Veltar worked at his console for several minutes before responding. "According to our database, it appears to be a Dreadnought-class vessel. The markings on the hull identify it as the UES Retribution, a Dreadnought-class ship." Kethvar had read about such vessels but had never seen one. According to intelligence reports, these were among the most powerful warships in the human fleet. If they could study this ship, they might finally understand how humans had become such a dominant military force. "Are there any life signs?" Kethvar asked. "No, Doctor. The ship appears to be completely dead. However, some systems seem to still be running on emergency power. This was perfect. An empty human warship with some systems still functioning. They could board the vessel, study its technology, and finally answer the questions that had puzzled xenobiologists for decades." "Prepare the boarding team," Kethvar ordered. "I want representatives from all 4 species aboard our ship. This is too important for just one perspective." Within an hour, the boarding team was ready. Besides Kethvar and Veltar, there was Dr. Mira Hashton, a human scientist who had joined the consortium 5 years earlier. Her presence might help them understand any human technology they encountered. There was also Grix, a warrior scholar from the Korthak Empire, whose people were known for their understanding of military tactics and weapons. Finally, there was Zixfi, a small but brilliant engineer from the Collective, whose species had the best understanding of starship systems in the galaxy. As their shuttle approached the human warship, Kethvar could not help but feel impressed by its size. The Retribution was truly massive. Its hull was covered in strange symbols and markings that none of them could understand. There were also dozens of weapons platforms visible on the ship's surface, though all appeared to be powered down. "Look at those weapon mounts," Grix said, his gravelly voice filled with professional interest. "I count at least 60 different systems. This ship was built for war, Dr. Hashton leaned forward to get a better look at her species' creation. "I've never seen anything like it," she admitted. "The humans I've worked with in the scientific community never talk about their military technology." "That is exactly why this opportunity is so valuable," Kethvar said. "We may never get another chance like this." Their shuttle found a docking port on the human ship's side. The port was much larger than those found on other species' vessels, apparently designed to accommodate heavy equipment or large numbers of personnel quickly. "Atmosphere readings show the air is still breathable," Zixvi reported in her high-pitched voice. "Life support is functioning in this section of the ship, though everything else appears to be on minimal power." They docked with the human ship and prepared to board. Each member of the team carried recording equipment and scanning devices. This was going to be the most comprehensive study of human military technology ever attempted. The airlock cycled open, and they stepped aboard the UES Retribution. The first thing that struck them was how different everything looked. The corridors were wide and tall, clearly designed to allow armed soldiers to move quickly through the ship. The walls were made of some kind of metal that looked incredibly strong, and every surface seemed designed to withstand tremendous abuse. "The construction is remarkable," Zixvi observed as she ran her scanner along the wall. "This alloy is unlike anything in our database. It appears to be designed to absorb and distribute impact energy." They began moving deeper into the ship. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls, and their footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. Everything felt heavy and solid, built to last through the worst conditions imaginable. "Notice the lack of decoration," Dr. Hashton pointed out. "Most ships have some kind of artistic elements, but this vessel is purely functional." Grix examined what appeared to be weapons lockers built into the walls. "These storage compartments are everywhere. This ship was designed to fight for extended periods without resupply." As they explored, they began to understand just how different human military philosophy was from everyone else's. Other species built ships that could fight, but they also considered comfort, efficiency, and appearance. Humans, it seemed, built ships that existed solely to win battles. They found what appeared to be crew quarters. The rooms were small and basic, containing only the essentials needed for survival. Each room had multiple weapon storage areas and what looked like personal armor hanging on the walls. Even their sleeping areas are prepared for combat, Veltar observed with amazement. "This is incredible," Kethvar said as he recorded everything with his scanner. "The entire ship is designed around the assumption that they will be fighting for their lives at any moment." They continued their exploration, moving toward what their scanners indicated was the ship's command center. Along the way, they discovered more and more evidence of human military thinking. Every corridor had defensive positions built into the walls. Every junction had blast doors that could seal off sections of the ship. Every room had multiple exits and emergency equipment. "It is like they expect to be boarded by enemies," Grix said with growing respect in his voice. "Or perhaps they expect to be surrounded and outnumbered," Dr. Hashton suggested. As they approached the command center, Kethvar felt his excitement growing. Soon they would see the heart of a human warship, the place where all the tactical decisions were made. They might finally understand how humans had become such effective warriors. But as they reached the command center doors, something unexpected happened. The lights in the corridor suddenly became brighter, and they could hear the sound of systems powering up throughout the ship. "What is happening?" Veltar asked nervously. Before anyone could answer, a voice spoke from speakers in the walls. The voice was artificial, clearly from a computer system, but it sounded almost human. "Unauthorized personnel detected aboard UES Retribution. Initiating identification protocols." The boarding team looked at each other in shock. The ship was not as dead as they had thought. "This is Dr. Kethvar of the Zephyrian Science Consortium," Kethvar said to the air. "We responded to a distress signal from this vessel." There was a pause before the artificial voice responded. "Scanning. Scan complete. No hostile intent detected. Initiating diplomatic protocols. Please proceed to Conference Room Alpha for formal contact procedures." Lights began flashing in the corridor, clearly indicating a path they should follow. "Diplomatic protocols?" Dr. Hashton whispered. "The ship has been programmed for first contact situations. It seems we are not the first aliens to find this vessel," Grix observed. They followed the flashing lights through the ship's corridors. As they walked, they could hear more systems coming online around them. The ship was waking up, and they were no longer alone aboard it. Conference Room Alpha turned out to be a large chamber near the center of the ship. The room was dominated by a large table surrounded by chairs of different sizes and shapes, apparently designed to accommodate various alien species. "Please be seated," the artificial voice said. "I am Warden, the tactical AI of the UES Retribution. I will be conducting this diplomatic contact according to Human Defense Force protocols." Kethavar and his team took seats around the table. The situation had changed completely from what they had expected. Instead of studying an abandoned ship, they were apparently in a first contact situation with an active human AI. "We were told this ship was sending a distress signal," Kethavar said. "Negative," Warden responded. "The signal you detected was not a distress beacon. It was a scanning pulse designed to identify and analyze approaching vessels. You have been under observation since you first detected our transmission." The implications of this statement were disturbing. The human ship had been watching them the entire time, analyzing their vessel and crew without them knowing it. "Are there humans aboard this ship?" Dr. Hashton asked. "That information is classified pending completion of diplomatic protocols," Warden answered. "However, I can inform you that this vessel is fully operational and on an active mission for the Human Defense Force." Kethavar felt a chill run through his body. They had not found an abandoned ship to study. They had stumbled onto an active human military operation, and they had no idea what that might mean for them. "We came here for scientific research only," Kethavar said quickly. "We have no hostile intentions." "Your peaceful intentions have been confirmed through behavioral analysis and scanner readings," Warden replied. "However, your presence here requires certain security protocols to be followed. Please remain seated while I contact my commanding officer." As they sat in the conference room, waiting for whatever was about to happen next, Kethavar realized that their simple scientific mission had become something much more complicated. They had wanted to study a human warship, but now it seemed the warship was going to study them instead. The conference room was silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Kethavar and his team sat around the large table, waiting for whatever was about to happen. The AI called Warden had been quiet for several minutes, presumably contacting its commanding officer. Dr. Hashton shifted nervously in her chair. As a human herself, she understood better than the others what kind of situation they might be in. Human military protocols were strict and thorough. If this was really an active warship on a mission, their presence here could be seen as a serious security breach. "Dr. Kethavar," she whispered, "I think we need to be very careful about what we say. Human military AIs are not like civilian systems. They are designed to protect their ships and crews at all costs." Before Kethavar could respond, Warden's voice filled the room again. "Contact established with Command Authority. Diplomatic protocols confirmed. You will now meet with the commanding officer of this vessel." The main doors to the conference room opened, and a human walked in. Kethavar had met humans before, but always in civilian or academic settings. This human was different. She was of average height for her species, with dark hair pulled back in a strict military style. Her uniform was dark blue with various symbols and markings that indicated rank and position. But what struck Kethavar most was the way she moved. Every step was purposeful and controlled, like a predator that was always ready for action. Behind her came another human, a male who was even more obviously military. He was taller and more heavily built, with scars on his face and hands that spoke of combat experience. He carried a weapon on his belt and positioned himself where he could watch both the aliens and the door. "I am Captain Sarah, Chen of the UES Retribution," the female human said as she took a seat at the head of the table. "This is Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, my security chief." Captain Chen's voice was calm and professional, but there was an undertone of authority that made it clear she was in complete control of the situation. "I understand you responded to what you believed was a distress signal," she continued. "I want to apologize for the confusion. Our scanning pulse uses frequencies similar to emergency beacons, which sometimes causes misunderstandings. We are scientists from the Zephyrian Consortium," Kethavar said carefully. "We meant no intrusion. We simply wished to offer assistance." Captain Chen studied him with dark eyes that seemed to see everything. "Warden has analyzed your ship and crew. Your intentions appear to be genuine. However, your timing is unfortunately poor." "Poor?" Veltar asked. This vessel is currently conducting a deep reconnaissance mission in contested space, the captain explained. We have been operating under stealth protocols for the past 18 months. Your arrival here compromises our mission security. Grix leaned forward with interest. As a warrior himself, he understood military concerns. You have been alone in space for 18 months? Not alone, Lieutenant Commander Webb said, speaking for the first time. His voice was rough and carried the tone of someone who had seen many battles. We have a crew of 12, though most are currently in rotating sleep cycles. 12 humans operating a ship this size? Kethvar was amazed. The scholarly pursuit required a crew of over 60 to function properly, and it was much smaller than the Retribution. How is such a small crew possible? Zixvi asked, her engineer's curiosity overcoming her nervousness. Human ships are designed for minimal crew operations, Captain Chen explained. Every crew member is cross-trained in multiple specialties, and our automated systems handle most routine functions. But this is a warship, Grix said. How can so few people operate such a complex vessel? Captain Chen and Lieutenant Commander Webb exchanged a look. The captain seemed to make a decision. Warden, display crew efficiency statistics. A holographic display appeared above the table, showing various charts and numbers. Kethvar studied the data with growing amazement. Each crew member can perform the functions of 5 to 10 specialists from other species' navies, Captain Chen explained. Our training programs are intensive. Intensive how? Dr. Hashton asked. Combat training begins in childhood, Webb answered. By the time someone joins the Defense Force, they have already spent years learning weapons, tactics, engineering, medicine, and ship operations. Then we spend 2 more years in advanced training before they are assigned to a ship. Kethvar was beginning to understand why humans were so effective in military operations. They did not just train soldiers or sailors. They created complete warriors who could handle any situation. Your mission, Grix said, returning to the earlier topic. What kind of reconnaissance requires such a powerful ship? Again, the 2 humans exchanged looks. Captain Chen seemed to be deciding how much to tell them. We are monitoring Syndicate activity in this region, she said finally. There have been reports of new weapon technologies being developed, and intelligence suggests they may be planning aggressive actions against several species. The Syndicate. Kethvar knew that name well. They were a criminal organization that had been growing bolder in recent years, attacking merchant ships and even raiding planetary settlements. Most governments had tried various approaches to deal with them, but the Syndicate always seemed to stay one step ahead of any organized response. You are fighting the Syndicate alone? Veltar asked with amazement. Not fighting, Captain Chen corrected. Watching, gathering intelligence, learning their patterns and capabilities. But why just one ship? Dr. Hashton asked. Surely a fleet would be more effective. Lieutenant Commander Webb smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. A fleet would be noticed. A fleet would start a war. One ship can go places and see things that a fleet cannot. Besides, Captain Chen added, the Retribution is quite capable of handling most threats we might encounter. Warden's voice spoke from the speakers. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting 3 vessels approaching our position. Classification, Syndicate Raiders. ETA 43 minutes. The change in the humans was immediate and dramatic. Captain Chen stood up from her chair, her casual demeanor replaced by sharp military focus. Lieutenant Commander Webb's hand moved to his weapon, and his eyes began scanning the room as if looking for threats. Battle stations, Captain Chen ordered. Initiate stealth protocols and prepare for potential engagement. Throughout the ship, Kethvar could hear the sound of systems powering up and crew members moving through the corridors. In seconds, the entire vessel had transformed from a peaceful meeting place to a weapon of war. What about us? Dr. Hashton asked nervously. Captain Chen looked at the alien scientists with what might have been sympathy. You will remain here under guard. This is now a combat situation, and civilian safety is our priority. Guard? Kethvar asked. 2 more humans entered the conference room, both armed and wearing what appeared to be combat armor. They positioned themselves at the doors and windows, clearly prepared to defend the room against any threats. We apologize for the inconvenience, Captain Chen said as she headed for the door. Lieutenant Commander Webb will remain here to answer any questions you might have and ensure your safety. As the captain left the room, Kethvar realized that their simple scientific mission had become something far more dangerous. They were now aboard a human warship that was about to face enemy raiders, and they had no idea what that might mean for their survival. Lieutenant Commander, Grick said to Webb, what are Syndicate raiders? Webb settled into a chair where he could watch both the aliens and the door. Pirates with military-grade weapons. They attack merchant vessels, enslave crews, and raid settlements for supplies and captives. And you fight them? When necessary, Webb replied. But our primary mission is intelligence gathering. If possible, we will avoid engagement and simply observe their activities. But if engagement becomes necessary, SciFi asked in a small voice. Webb's expression became grim. Then we will do what we must to complete our mission and survive. Warden's voice spoke again. Enemy vessels now within sensor range. 3 raiders, approximately 200 crew total. Weapons, standard pirate configuration with illegal military modifications. Can your ship handle 3 enemy vessels? Dr. Ashton asked. Webb looked at her with surprise. Doctor, the Retribution is a dreadnought-class vessel. Those raiders are converted merchant ships with welded-on weapons. This is not even close to being a fair fight. Then why are you concerned about engagement? Veltar asked. Because engagement means revealing our position and capabilities, Webb explained. Once we fire our weapons, every Syndicate cell in this region will know there is a human warship operating here. Our intelligence mission will be compromised. Kethvar was beginning to understand the complexity of the situation. The humans were not afraid of the approaching raiders. They were concerned about the larger implications of revealing their presence. So what will you do? He asked. We will wait, Webb said simply. We will see what the raiders are doing and decide based on their actions. Wait for what? Webb's smile was cold and professional. Wait to see if they do anything that requires us to kill them. The casual way he said those words sent a chill through the alien scientists. These humans were not like the academics and diplomats they had worked with before. These were warriors, and they spoke of death and violence as casually as others might discuss the weather. Warden, Webb said to the air, display tactical situation. The holographic display above the table changed to show a 3-dimensional map of the local area. 3 red dots were moving toward a blue dot that represented their location. The enemy ships were definitely heading directly for them. They know we are here, Grix observed. Possibly, Webb agreed. Or they may be investigating the same signal that brought you to us. Many pirate groups monitor emergency frequencies looking for ships in distress. Ships in distress are easy prey, Dr. Ashton said with understanding. Exactly. A disabled ship cannot run or fight back effectively. The red dots on the display were getting closer. Kethvar found himself holding his breath as he watched their approach. In less than an hour, they would find out just how capable human military technology really was. Warden, Webb said, crew status report. All hands at battle stations. Weapon systems charged and ready. Stealth systems at maximum efficiency. All department heads report ready for combat operations. 12 people. 12 humans were preparing to fight 3 ships with crews totaling 200 pirates. The mathematics seemed impossible, but Webb appeared completely confident in their ability to handle the situation. Lieutenant Commander, Kethvar said quietly, are you certain your ship can handle this threat? Webb looked at him with what might have been amusement. Doctor, you are about to see why the galaxy has learned to respect human military capabilities. I suggest you pay attention. This may be the most educational experience of your career. As the enemy ships continued their approach, Kethvar realized that their desire to study human military technology was about to be fulfilled in a way they had never expected. Instead of examining a dead ship, they were going to witness a human warship in actual combat. He just hoped they would survive the experience. The tension in the conference room was thick as the alien scientists watched the tactical display. The 3 red dots representing Syndicate raiders continued their steady approach toward the Retribution. Lieutenant Commander Webb sat calmly in his chair, occasionally speaking quietly to his wrist communicator or listening to reports from Warden. Enemy vessels will be in visual range in 15 minutes, Warden announced. Kethvar noticed that Webb did not seem nervous or concerned. If anything, the human appeared to be going through a mental checklist, preparing for whatever might happen next. Lieutenant Commander, Dr. Ashton said, breaking the silence. May I ask what kind of training you have had? Webb looked at her with interest. You are human yourself. You have never served in the Defense Force? No, I'm a scientist. My people have mandatory education about military service, but I chose the academic path. I see. Webb considered her question. I have been in the Defense Force for 22 years. I began training when I was 16. Combat operations, ship systems, tactics, weapons, engineering, medicine, communications. Every member of a warship crew must be able to do every job if necessary. Every job? SciFi asked in amazement. If our captain is killed, I can command the ship. If our engineer is injured, I can repair the engines. If our medic is wounded, I can treat casualties. That is how human ships survive when everything goes wrong. Grix leaned forward with professional interest. How many battles have you fought? Webb was quiet for a moment, as if counting. Personal combat? Perhaps 30 engagements. Ship-to-ship combat? This would be my 14th. 14 space battles. Kethavar tried to imagine the experience and skills that would come from surviving so many fights. Most species in the galaxy considered themselves lucky if they never had to fight a single space battle in their entire careers. And the rest of your crew? Veltar asked. Similar experience levels. Captain Chen has been in the Defense Force for 18 years. Our youngest crew member has served for 6 years and fought in 8 battles. The implications were staggering. The 12 humans aboard this ship had collective experience of over 100 space battles. They were not just soldiers. They were veterans of a kind of warfare that most species never even imagined. Warden, Webb said to the air. Status of approaching vessels. Sensors indicate standard raider configuration. Modified merchant hulls with added weapons and armor. Crews estimated at 60 to 70 each. They are conducting active scanning of our position. So they definitely know we are here, Dr. Hashton observed. Yes, but they do not yet know what we are, Webb replied. Our stealth systems are masking our true signatures. To their sensors, we probably appear to be a damaged civilian vessel. Is that good or bad? Kethavar asked. It depends on their intentions. If they are simply investigating, they may approach carefully and attempt communication. If they are looking for prey, they will try to disable us and board. And if they try to board? Grix asked. Webb's expression became cold. Then they will discover their mistake. The door to the conference room opened and Captain Chen returned. She had changed from her uniform into what appeared to be combat armor. The suit was sleek and black with various devices and weapons attached to it. She looked even more dangerous than before. Status report, she said to Webb. 3 raiders approaching on Vector 77 Mark II. They are scanning us but have not yet identified our true nature. All systems ready for combat or evasion as required. Captain Chen nodded and took a seat at the table. Despite wearing combat armor and preparing for possible battle, she seemed completely relaxed. Captain, Dr. Hashton said, may I ask why you seem so calm? You are facing 3 enemy ships. Captain Chen smiled, and for the first time it seemed genuinely warm. Doctor, those are not enemy ships. Those are 3 small pirate vessels with limited weapons and untrained crews. The Retribution is a ship designed to fight entire fleets of modern warships. This is not a battle. This is barely even an exercise. But there are 200 of them and only 12 of you, Veltar protested. Numbers matter less in space combat than you might think, Captain Chen explained. It does not matter if they have 200 people if those people cannot effectively use their weapons or coordinate their attacks. Incoming transmission, Warden announced. Put it through, Captain Chen ordered. A rough voice filled the room, speaking in the common galactic language. Unknown vessel. This is Captain Vox of the Syndicate Warship Blood Harvest. You are in violation of Syndicate territory. Prepare to be boarded for inspection and taxation. The alien scientists looked at each other in alarm. Taxation was a polite word for piracy, and boarding meant slavery or death for most crews. Captain Chen activated her communicator. This is the merchant vessel Far Trader. We are experiencing engine problems and request assistance. She was pretending to be a civilian ship. Kethavar realized this was a tactical deception to see what the pirates would do. Negative, Far Trader. You will shut down all systems and prepare for boarding. Any resistance will result in the destruction of your vessel. Captain Chen looked at Lieutenant Commander Webb and nodded slightly. Captain Vox, she replied, we comply with your instructions. Please be aware that we have valuable cargo aboard, and request that your boarding party treat us with respect. Even while pretending to surrender, she was gathering intelligence about their intentions. Kethavar was beginning to understand that human military thinking operated on multiple levels simultaneously. Your cargo now belongs to the Syndicate, the pirate captain replied. As do you and your crew. Prepare to be taken aboard our vessels. Slavery. The pirates were not just interested in cargo. They intended to capture the crew as well. Captain Chen's expression became ice cold. Warden, record that transmission as evidence of intended piracy and slavery. Upload to Defense Force database with priority classification. Recorded and transmitted, Captain. She stood up from the table and looked at the alien scientists. I am sorry you have to witness this, but those pirates have just made the decision for us. What decision? Dr. Hashton asked, though Kethavar suspected she already knew. The decision to engage? Lieutenant Commander Webb answered. Human law is very clear about slavery. Any attempt to enslave humans or their allies is considered an act of war. Their allies? Grix asked. Captain Chen nodded toward the alien scientists. You are aboard a human vessel under our protection. An attack on this ship is an attack on you as well. Kethavar felt a strange mixture of fear and gratitude. These humans were willing to fight to protect them, even though they had only met an hour ago. Warden, Captain Chen ordered. Drop stealth protocols and power up all weapon systems. Throughout the ship, Kethavar could hear the sound of massive systems coming online. The lights in the conference room dimmed slightly as enormous amounts of power were redirected to the ship's weapons. Also, wake up the rest of the crew. I want all hands at battle stations. Aye, Captain. Crew revival in progress. Captain Chen sat back down at the table. Now we wait to see how they react to seeing what we really are. The wait was not long. Within seconds, the voice of Captain Vox came through the speakers again. But this time he sounded very different. What the hell? That is not a merchant ship. Warden, Captain Chen said calmly. Identify ourselves. Attention Syndicate vessels, Warden's voice broadcast on all frequencies. You are being addressed by the UES Retribution, a human defense force warship. You have declared your intention to commit acts of piracy and slavery. You have 30 seconds to change course and leave the system, or you will be destroyed. The silence that followed was complete. Even the background noise of the ship's systems seemed quieter. Finally, Captain Vox's voice came through again, but now it was filled with fear. Human defense force? There are no human ships in this sector. Correction, Captain Chen replied personally. There are no human ships that you knew about. You now have 20 seconds to change course. This is a trap. All ships, attack pattern Delta! Concentrate fire on their engines. On the tactical display, Kethavar could see the 3 pirate ships changing course and accelerating toward them. Their weapons were powering up, and they were moving into what appeared to be a coordinated attack formation. So much for giving them a chance to surrender, Lieutenant Commander Webb commented. Captain Chen stood up and activated her armor's communication systems. All hands, this is the captain. We are now in active combat against 3 pirate vessels. Rules of engagement are weapons-free. Our primary objective is to gather intelligence on Syndicate activities, so try to disable at least 1 ship for boarding and interrogation. She looked at the alien scientists one more time. I strongly suggest you hold on to something. This may be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable how? Veltar asked nervously. Before anyone could answer, the ship suddenly lurched to one side. Alarms began sounding throughout the vessel, and the lights switched to a red emergency configuration. Direct hit on forward armor, Warden reported. No significant damage. The pirates had opened fire and the battle had begun. Return fire, Captain Chen ordered. Target their weapons and engines. I want prisoners for interrogation. What happened next was unlike anything the alien scientists had ever experienced. The Retribution began firing its weapons and the sound was incredible. Each shot sounded like thunder, and the entire ship vibrated with the power being unleashed. On the tactical display, they could see bright flashes as the human ship's weapons found their targets. The first pirate vessel was hit multiple times in rapid succession. Its weapons went offline, then its engines, and finally the ship began spinning helplessly through space. Blood harvest disabled, Warden reported. Crew survival probability 93%. The second pirate ship tried to flee, but the Retribution's weapons reached out across space and crippled it before it could escape. The third ship attempted to ram them, perhaps hoping to damage the human vessel enough to have a chance in close combat. It was a fatal mistake. The Retribution's point defense systems activated, filling space with defensive fire. The pirate ship was torn apart before it could get within 1,000 kilometers of the human warship. In less than 5 minutes, the battle was over. 2 pirate ships disabled, 1 destroyed, and the Retribution had not suffered any significant damage. Threat neutralized, Warden announced. All systems normal. Captain Chen sat back down at the table as if nothing had happened. Warden, prepare boarding parties for the disabled vessels. I want intelligence on current Syndicate operations, leadership, and future plans. Aye, Captain. Boarding teams ready in 10 minutes. The alien scientists sat in stunned silence. They had just witnessed a battle that involved hundreds of lives and massive amounts of destruction. Yet to the humans, it seemed like a routine training exercise. That was incredible, Grick said finally. Your weapons are far more powerful than anything in our databases. Those were not our most powerful weapons, Captain Chen replied matter-of-factly. The Retribution is a reconnaissance vessel. We are built for stealth and survival, not maximum firepower. If this is not maximum firepower, Dr. Hashton asked quietly, what would a real battleship be capable of? Captain Chen and Lieutenant Commander Webb looked at each other and both smiled. Doctor, Webb said, I do not think you really want to know the answer to that question. But looking at the tactical display showing the destroyed and disabled pirate ships, Kethvar realized that he did want to know. The alien scientists had come here to study human military technology, and they were getting an education beyond anything they had ever imagined. The question was whether they would survive long enough to share what they had learned. The aftermath of the battle was almost as impressive as the battle itself. Within minutes of the last pirate ship being disabled, the Retribution had launched boarding shuttles and begun rescue operations for the surviving pirates. Human efficiency was on full display as they simultaneously gathered intelligence, provided medical aid to wounded enemies, and prepared for potential additional threats. Kethvar watched the activities on the tactical display with growing amazement. The humans were not only superior warriors, but they were also remarkably disciplined in their treatment of defeated enemies. Captain, he said to Captain Chen, you are providing medical aid to the pirates who just tried to kill you? Of course, she replied as if the question was strange. They are no longer a threat, and they have information we need. Dead prisoners cannot answer questions. But they were going to enslave you, Veltar pointed out. Lieutenant Commander Webb answered this time. What they intended to do does not change our responsibilities as members of the Defense Force. We follow the laws of war, even when our enemies do not. Dr. Hashton looked thoughtful. This is not what most species expect from human military forces. What do they expect? Captain Chen asked with curiosity, violence, brutality. Most of the galaxy believes that humans are effective warriors because you are naturally aggressive and cruel. Captain Chen and Webb exchanged a look that contained some private communication. May I show you something? Captain Chen asked the alien scientists. I think it might help you understand human military philosophy better. Of course, Kethvar replied immediately. Warden, secure conference room for external viewing. Transfer life support to backup systems. Acknowledged, Captain. The walls of the conference room suddenly became transparent. They were now sitting in what appeared to be a glass bubble, looking out into space. Around them, they could see the Retribution's hull stretching in all directions, and in the distance, the disabled pirate ships. What you are seeing, Captain Chen explained, is the result of human military technology and training. But what you may not understand is why we developed these capabilities. She gestured toward the disabled pirate ships. Those pirates chose to attack merchant vessels and enslave innocent people. They made themselves into predators. Our response was not based on cruelty or aggression. It was based on the simple principle that predators must be stopped. But your weapons are so powerful, Zixfi said quietly. You could have destroyed them all in seconds. Yes, we could have, Webb agreed. But destruction should be the last option, not the first. We disabled their ships and captured the crews because that serves our mission better than simply killing them. Your mission being intelligence gathering, Grick said. Partly, but our larger mission is protecting innocent people from threats like the Syndicate. Captain Chen stood up and walked to the transparent wall. Warden showed them the full tactical display. The space around them filled with holographic symbols and data. Kethvar could see not just the local area, but a much larger region of space. There were dozens of red symbols scattered across the display. Each red symbol represents a known Syndicate base, fleet position, or recent attack, Captain Chen explained. For the past 18 months, we have been mapping their entire organization. One ship has been tracking all of that? Dr. Ashton asked in amazement. The Retribution is not the only human ship on this type of mission, Webb said. But yes, we have been gathering most of this intelligence ourselves. Why? Kethvar asked. Why would humans spend so much effort fighting pirates that mostly attack other species? Captain Chen turned back to the group. Because predators do not stop with easy prey. If the Syndicate becomes powerful enough, they will eventually threaten human space as well. It is better to deal with threats while they are still manageable. But the cost must be enormous, Veltar observed. Ships like this trained crews 18 months of operations. The cost of prevention is always less than the cost of reaction, Captain Chen replied. If we stop the Syndicate now, we prevent larger conflicts later. Incoming transmission from boarding Team Alpha, Warden announced. Put it through, Captain Chen ordered. A human voice came through the speakers. Captain, we have secured the blood harvest. 43 survivors in custody, including their captain. Medical team is treating the wounded. Excellent work, Commander Hayes. What about intelligence? We have their complete navigation database and communication logs. Preliminary analysis shows references to a major operation scheduled for next month. Captain Chen's expression became more serious. What kind of operation? Still analyzing, Captain, but it appears to involve multiple Syndicate fleets and targets in the Zephyrian trade routes. Kethvar felt a chill. The Zephyrian trade routes were the main commercial pathways for his people. If the Syndicate was planning a major operation there, upload all data to Warden for analysis, Captain Chen ordered. Then prepare the prisoners for transport to the detention facility. Aye, Captain. The communication ended, and Captain Chen returned to her seat at the table. Captain, Kethvar said urgently, if the Syndicate is planning attacks on Zephyrian trade routes, my people need to be warned. They will be, Captain Chen assured him. Once we have analyzed the intelligence and confirmed the threat, we will share our findings with the appropriate authorities. But that could take weeks. People could die. Dr. Kethvar, Webb said gently, intelligence work requires careful analysis. If we share incomplete or incorrect information, it could cause unnecessary panic or expose our sources to retaliation. Besides, Captain Chen added, this is exactly why we are here. The Defense Force received indications that something was being planned in this region. Our mission is to gather the intelligence needed to stop it. Dr. Ashton looked thoughtful. How long has the Defense Force been conducting this type of preventive operation? Since we first entered galactic politics, Webb replied. About 180 years. And other species do not do this? Captain Chen shook her head. Most species wait until they are directly threatened before taking military action. They focus on defending their own territory rather than preventing threats from developing. That seems reasonable, Veltar said. It is reasonable, Captain Chen agreed, but it is also reactive rather than proactive. By the time a threat becomes large enough to directly threaten your territory, it may be too large to stop without major warfare. So humans fight small wars to prevent large ones, Grix observed. We try to prevent wars entirely, Webb corrected. Operations like this one are designed to gather intelligence and disrupt criminal organizations before they become powerful enough to threaten interstellar stability. But you are still only 12 people on one ship, Zixfi pointed out. How can so few make a difference against such a large organization? Captain Chen smiled. Would you like a demonstration? Before anyone could answer, she continued. Warden, are there any suitable targets in sensor range for a tactical demonstration? Affirmative, Captain. Asteroid field bearing 27 Mark 8. Multiple targets of various sizes available. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it would be educational for you to see what this ship is truly capable of. The tactical display changed to show a field of asteroids drifting through space. Some were small, perhaps the size of buildings. Others were enormous, like small moons. Warden, target the asteroid designated Alpha 7. Full spread maximum yield. Target acquired. Weapons ready. Fire. What happened next was beyond anything the alien scientists had ever imagined. The Retribution unleashed a barrage of weapons fire that lit up space like a new sun. Energy beams, projectile weapons, and explosive missiles all converged on a single asteroid that was nearly a kilometer in diameter. The result was complete annihilation. The asteroid simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that not even debris remained. The alien scientists stared in shock at the empty space where the asteroid had been. That was a Class 5 asteroid, Warden reported. Complete destruction achieved in 2.7 seconds. Class 5? Dr. Ashton asked weakly. Dense metallic composition, Captain Chen explained. The equivalent of a heavily armored military installation. And that was what you called a reconnaissance vessel? Grix asked in amazement. The Retribution is designed for independent operations in hostile territory, Webb said. We have to be able to handle any threat we might encounter, including enemy warships and fortified positions. But surely this is your most powerful ship type, Veltar suggested hopefully. Captain Chen and Webb looked at each other, and both began laughing. Doctor, Captain Chen said when she had composed herself, the Retribution is a light reconnaissance vessel. We have cruisers that carry 10 times our firepower. We have battleships that could destroy entire fleets, and we have dreadnoughts that could sterilize a planet. But why? Kethavar asked desperately. Why do humans build such powerful weapons? Because the galaxy is a dangerous place, Webb answered simply. There are species that respect only strength. There are criminal organizations that prey on the weak. There are ancient threats that sleep in the dark between stars. And because, Captain Chen added more softly, we learned long ago that the best way to avoid having to use overwhelming force is to make sure everyone knows you have it. Deterrence, Dr. Ashton said with understanding. Exactly. Most of our weapons are never fired in anger. Their mere existence prevents conflicts that would otherwise occur. Incoming priority transmission, Warden announced. Origin, Defense Force Command. Put it through secure channel, Captain Chen ordered. Captain Chen, a new voice said, this is Admiral Harrison. We have been monitoring your situation. Yes, sir. We have successfully gathered intelligence on Syndicate operations and neutralized a local threat. Acknowledged. However, we have a new concern. Long-range sensors are detecting a large Syndicate fleet moving toward your position. Ite approximately 6 hours. The alien scientists looked at each other in alarm. A large fleet was much more dangerous than 3 small pirate ships. How large, Admiral? Captain Chen asked calmly. 47 vessels, including several heavy cruisers and what appears to be a converted battleship. 47 ships against 1. Even with human technology, those seemed like impossible odds. Do you require reinforcement, Captain? Captain Chen was quiet for a moment, apparently considering the situation. Negative, Admiral. The Retribution can handle this threat. However, I recommend that you dispatch a recovery fleet to collect the intelligence we have gathered. Understood, Captain. Recovery fleet ETA 12 hours. Good luck. The communication ended and Captain Chen turned back to the alien scientists. Well, she said cheerfully, it appears you are going to get a much more comprehensive demonstration of human military capabilities than we originally planned. Looking at the tactical display showing 47 enemy ships approaching, Kethavar realized that their educational experience was about to become far more intense than any of them had bargained for. And he was no longer certain they would survive to share what they learned. The next few hours aboard the Retribution were unlike anything the alien scientists had ever experienced. As the Syndicate fleet approached, they watched the human crew prepare for what seemed like an impossible battle with a calm efficiency that was almost frightening. Captain, Chen had given them permission to observe the preparations from the ship's observation deck, under guard but with a clear view of the activities throughout the vessel. What they saw challenged everything they thought they knew about military operations. Look at them, Dr. Ashton whispered as they watched human crew members moving through the corridors below. They are not running around in panic. They are not shouting orders or showing fear. They are working like this is just another day. It probably is for them, Lieutenant Commander Webb said from behind them. He had been assigned to watch over the alien scientists during the battle preparations. Most of our crew has faced worse odds than this. Worse than 47-1? Veltar asked in disbelief. The Battle of Kepler Station was 63-1, Webb replied casually. The defense of New Terra was over 100-1. This is actually relatively manageable. Kethavar watched a human technician calmly checking weapon systems while eating what appeared to be a sandwich. How can they be so relaxed? Because they are professionals, Webb explained. Panic and fear make you make mistakes. Mistakes get people killed. Our training focuses on staying calm and thinking clearly no matter what the situation. But surely some fear is natural? Dr. Ashton asked. Webb considered the question. Fear is natural, yes. But useful fear motivates you to prepare thoroughly and fight intelligently. Useless fear paralyzes you and clouds your judgment. We are taught to feel the first kind and ignore the second kind. Warden, Captain Chen's voice came over the ship's communication system. Fleet status report. Syndicate fleet continues approach. Current count 47 vessels. Lead elements will be in weapons range in 93 minutes. Composition: 12 light cruisers, 8 heavy cruisers, 26 raiders and destroyers, and 1 battleship conversion. Battleship conversion? Grix asked Webb. They took an old cargo hauler and added as many weapons as they could fit, Webb explained. Dangerous to civilian ships, but not much of a threat to a proper warship. And the other vessels? Standard pirate ships. Some are dangerous, but most are just armed merchants with untrained crews. Captain Chen's voice came over the speakers again. All hands, this is the captain. In approximately 90 minutes, we will engage a large syndicate fleet. Our mission objectives are unchanged. Gather intelligence, protect civilian populations, and ensure the survival of our crew and passengers. Passengers. Kerthvar realized that Captain Chen was referring to the alien scientists. We will be using enhanced tactical protocols for this engagement. All department heads acknowledge readiness status. Over the next several minutes, various human voices reported readiness from different sections of the ship. Engineering, weapons, medical, communications, navigation, every system was prepared for battle. Enhanced tactical protocols? Dr. Ashton asked Webb. Protocols we use when facing overwhelming numerical odds, Webb replied. Different strategies, different weapons, different rules of engagement. Different how? Webb was quiet for a moment, as if considering how much to reveal. When facing a few enemies, we focus on precision and capture. When facing many enemies, we focus on maximum effectiveness and survival. Maximum effectiveness meaning we stop trying to disable enemy ships and start trying to destroy them as quickly as possible. The implications of that statement sent a chill through the alien scientists. They had seen what the Retribution could do when it was trying to capture enemies. What would it do when it was trying to kill them? Warden, Captain Chen's voice came over the speakers again. Deploy long-range sensor platforms and initiate advanced tactical analysis. Acknowledged, Captain. Sensor platforms deployed. Advanced tactical analysis initiated. On the observation deck's display screens, the alien scientists could see small objects launching from the Retribution and spreading out through the surrounding space. Sensor platforms? HFY asked. Remote sensors that will give us detailed information about each enemy ship, Webb explained. Hull composition, weapon types, crew size, engine efficiency, structural weak points. You can determine all of that from sensors. Human sensor technology is very advanced. By the time the enemy fleet arrives, we will know more about their capabilities than their own captains do. As they watched, the tactical display began filling with detailed information about each approaching ship, not just their positions and courses, but complete technical specifications, crew estimates, and even assessments of their commanders' tactical abilities based on their movement patterns. This is incredible, Grix said with professional admiration. Your intelligence capabilities are beyond anything I have seen. Information wins battles, Webb replied. The more you know about your enemy, the more easily you can defeat them. Tactical analysis complete, Warden announced. Enemy fleet assessment, minimal coordination, mixed weapon systems, crews of varying experience levels. Recommend engagement strategy Gamma 7, acknowledged Warden. Implement Gamma 7 protocols. Webb's expression became more serious. Ladies and gentlemen, I recommend you secure yourselves in the safety restraints. This is going to be much more intense than our previous engagement. They strapped themselves into the specially designed chairs that had been provided for different alien physiologies. As they did, the lights throughout the ship dimmed and changed to a blue color that was easier on the eyes during combat operations. All stations report ready for enhanced combat operations, came a voice over the speakers. Very well, Captain Chen replied. Commence Operation Clean Sweep. The first sign that something had changed was the sound. The Retribution had been virtually silent during their previous battle, but now it was humming with power. The alien scientists could feel vibrations through the ship's hull as massive systems came online. What is happening? Dr. Ashton asked nervously. The captain is bringing our primary weapons online, Webb replied. The weapons we used against those 3 raiders were our secondary systems. Our primary weapons are designed for fleet engagements. Fleet engagements? Battles where we might face dozens or hundreds of enemy ships simultaneously. On the tactical display, they could see the Syndicate fleet approaching in what appeared to be a coordinated attack formation. 47 ships spread across space, moving toward the single human vessel like a pack of predators closing in on prey. Enemy fleet entering maximum weapons range, Warden announced. Begin engagement, Captain Chen ordered. What happened next was beyond anything the alien scientist had imagined possible. The Retribution opened fire with weapons that seemed to reach across impossible distances. Beams of energy that could barely be seen crossed the void of space and began striking enemy ships with devastating accuracy. But it was not just the range and power that was shocking. It was the coordination. The human ship was engaging multiple targets simultaneously, its weapon systems tracking and firing at different enemies at the same time with perfect precision. How many weapons do you have? Feltar asked in amazement as he watched dozens of energy beams reaching out toward the enemy fleet. The Retribution has 147 individual weapon systems, Webb replied calmly. Currently, we are using about 60% of our total firepower. 60%? We are holding the rest in reserve in case additional enemies arrive. On the tactical display, red symbols representing enemy ships began disappearing. Not the orange symbols that indicated disabled vessels, but complete disappearance as ships were destroyed entirely. Enemy casualties. 7 ships destroyed, 4 disabled. Warden reported. No damage to the Retribution. 7 ships destroyed in the first few minutes of battle. The alien scientists watched in horrified fascination as the human weapons continued their work. They are trying to retreat, Dr. Hashton observed as some of the enemy ships began changing course away from the Retribution. Too late, Webb said simply. Once you attack a human warship, the engagement continues until either you are destroyed or you surrender. But they are running away. They attacked us with the intention of destroying this ship and enslaving the crew. Running away after your attack fails does not erase your original intent. Enemy battleship attempting to close for ramming attack, Warden announced. On the display, they could see the largest enemy ship accelerating directly toward the Retribution. It was apparently trying to get close enough to use its heaviest weapons or perhaps even ram the human vessel. Primary batteries target the battleship, Captain Chen ordered. Full spread, concentrated fire. Primary batteries? Kethavar asked weakly. The weapons we used to destroy that asteroid, Webb explained. The Retribution fired its most powerful weapons at the approaching battleship. The result was immediate and total. The enemy ship simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that there was not even debris left behind. Battleship destroyed, Warden reported. Enemy fleet morale appears to be collapsing. Indeed, on the tactical display, the remaining enemy ships were scattering in all directions. Some were trying to escape, others were sending surrender signals, and a few seemed to be completely out of control. Warden, Captain Chen ordered, accept surrenders from any ships that stand down. Destroy any ships that continue to flee or resist. Acknowledged, Captain. Over the next 30 minutes, the alien scientists watched as the Retribution systematically dealt with the entire enemy fleet. Ships that surrendered were disabled and boarded by human marines. Ships that tried to escape were hunted down and destroyed with ruthless efficiency. When it was over, 31 enemy ships had been destroyed and 16 had been captured with their crews alive. Battle damage report, Captain Chen requested. No damage to the Retribution, Warden replied. All systems operating at full efficiency. No damage. A single human ship had faced a fleet of 47 enemies and suffered no damage at all. That was impossible, Zixvi whispered. No, Webb corrected her gently. That was human military engineering and training applied to a tactical problem. The outcome was never really in doubt. But there were so many of them. Numbers only matter if you can use them effectively, Webb explained. Those ships had no coordination, no unified command structure, no common tactical doctrine. They were not a fleet. They were a mob. And mobs, Captain Chen said as she entered the observation deck, are easily scattered once you demonstrate superior force. She had removed her combat armor and returned to her normal uniform. Like the rest of her crew, she seemed completely unaffected by the massive battle that had just concluded. Captain, Dr. Hashton said, I need to ask you something directly. Is this representative of human military capabilities? In what sense? Could other human ships have achieved the same result? Captain Chen considered the question. Any Dreadnought-class vessel could have handled this threat. Most cruisers could have managed it, though they might have taken longer. Even some of our destroyers could have dealt with a fleet of this type. And if the enemy had been more organized, better trained, better equipped, then we would have used different tactics and weapons, Captain Chen replied simply. The Defense Force has responses for every level of threat. Every level? Lieutenant Commander Webb joined the conversation. Doctor, the human military has been preparing for warfare for over 2 centuries. We have plans for fighting small pirate fleets, organized enemy navies, alien invasions, rogue artificial intelligences, and threats we have not even encountered yet. What kind of threats? Grix asked. Captain Chen and Webb exchanged one of their meaningful looks. The galaxy is old, Doctor, Captain Chen said finally. Older than any of our civilizations. Sometimes things wake up that have been sleeping for millions of years. Sometimes visitors arrive from other galaxies. Sometimes experiments conducted by ancient races become active again. And humans are prepared for such things? We are prepared to try, Webb said with a slight smile. Whether we would succeed against truly advanced threats is something we hope we never have to find out. Over the next several hours, as human boarding parties secured the captured pirate ships and began interrogating prisoners, Kethavar and his team began to understand the true scope of what they had witnessed. The human military was not just superior technology and training. It was an entire philosophy of preparedness, coordination, and overwhelming response to threats. The Defense Force did not just fight wars. They prevented wars by making the cost of aggression too high for rational enemies to consider. Dr. Kethavar, Captain Chen said as they prepared for the alien scientist's departure, I hope this experience has been educational. Educational and terrifying, Kethavar replied honestly. We came here to study human military technology. Instead, we learned that we have been completely wrong about humanity's place in the galaxy. Wrong how? We thought humans were newcomers who had gotten lucky with some advanced weapons. We thought you were a minor power that other species could manage or contain if necessary. And now, Kethavar looked out at the captured pirate fleet, then back at the undamaged human warship that had defeated them all. Now we understand that humanity has been choosing not to demonstrate their full capabilities. We understand that you could have conquered the galaxy long ago if you had wanted to. But we do not want to, Captain Chen said seriously. Conquest creates more problems than it solves. It is much easier to maintain peace through strength than to maintain control through oppression. So what happens now? Dr. Ashton asked. Now you return to your people with a new understanding of human capabilities, Captain Chen replied. You help them understand that humanity seeks cooperation and mutual benefit, but that we are also prepared to defend ourselves and our allies against any threat. And if other species see this as a threat? Lieutenant Commander Webb answered this question. Then they fundamentally misunderstand human nature. We do not build weapons because we want to use them. We build them so we never have to use them. As the alien scientists prepared to board their ship for the journey home, Kethavar realized that their mission had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. They had wanted to study human military technology, and they had learned far more than they had ever hoped. They had learned that humans were not just another species with advanced weapons. They were guardians who had taken upon themselves the responsibility of protecting the galaxy from threats that most other species could not even imagine. And they had learned that the peaceful coexistence of galactic civilization depended not on the weakness of its potential enemies, but on the strength of those willing to stand against them. The question now was whether the rest of the galaxy was ready to understand that truth.